Well, good morning. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about accepting SNAP benefits at a farmer's market. Today I'm going to be talking about, today's training includes an introduction to SNAP food stamp program and how to accept the Hoosier Works card, the Hoosier Works EBT card at a farmer's market. Tips on filling out the USDA FNS SNAP application for stores, and information on how to obtain free or low-cost equipment and wireless service from MarketLink. This training is intended for market managers and community partners interested in providing technical assistance to market managers. The SNAP Food Stamp Program is the largest nutrition assistance program administered by the USDA. The goal of the program is to alleviate hunger and malnutrition by increasing food purchasing power for all eligible households who apply for participation. The program provides monthly benefits to eligible low-income families, which can be used to purchase food. As of October 1st, 2008, SNAP is the new name for the Federal Food Stamp Program. It stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. In 2004, what began as a paper coupon or food stamp program transitioned to an electronic benefit transfer EBT program. EBT replaced paper coupons through use of a benefit card similar to a bank card. And Bloomington's Farmers Market was the very first market in Indiana to accept SNAP benefits. In 2008, their first year, total SNAP sales were about $1,000 for the whole season. But last year, Bloomington Community Farmers Market was accepting about $1,000 a month in SNAP benefits. The Hoosier Works card is the name for the EBT card used in Indiana to distribute food and cash benefits, including SNAP. Each state has a different name for its EBT system. So I think Louisiana, theirs is the Louisiana Purchase, and Illinois is the Link card, and I know Michigan's is the Bridge card. And SNAP benefits are deposited monthly electronically. A plastic card similar to a bank card is issued and a PIN number is assigned. So when paying for groceries at a farmer's market or food, the process is much like the use of a debit card. The SNAP customer's card is run through an electronic reader or a point-of-sale device, and then the recipient enters a PIN number to access their funds. Then, electronically, the processor verifies the PIN number and the account balance and sends an authorization or denial back to the market manager. The recipient's account is then debited for the amount of the purchase, and the market's account is credited. No money and no paper SNAP benefits change hands. Payment is made to the market through a settlement process at the end of the business day. So every 5 years, the SNAP program is reauthorized by Congress as part of the Farm Bill. The reauthorization establishes who is eligible for SNAP food stamps and addresses program access, benefit levels, and other matters. And this year, what was really exciting, the current Farm Bill has targeted $100 million for 5 years to a program that they're calling the Food Insecurity Incentive Program, which is basically a double-up food bucks program. And local markets will be able to apply for this grant funding, but they have to be eligible to accept SNAP benefits. You know, for struggling families, SNAP makes a huge difference on their economic well-being and health. 76% of SNAP households include a child, an elderly person, or a disabled person. SNAP participation follows unemployment. About 1 in 7 people in the U.S. received SNAP, and about 1 in 8 were unemployed or underemployed in February of 2014, according to USDA data. In 2013, 1 in 5 people did not have enough money to feed themselves and their families, and roughly 1/2 of adults will go on SNAP sometime between the ages of 18 and 25. So what does SNAP participation look like in Indiana? Well, in 2013, Indiana received about $1.5 billion in SNAP benefits, but only $47,000 was spent at Indiana farmers markets. So there's really a huge opportunity here for SNAP money to be spent at markets and in the community. The average monthly benefit per household was $268, and in an average month, nearly 880,000 people received SNAP benefits in Indiana. So welcoming SNAP customers at your market can mean more business for farmers, which means more dollars and jobs remain in the community. And at the bottom of this slide, you're going to see a hyperlink, and it's to a guide to SNAP EBT at farmers markets in North Carolina. But it's really a great toolkit to kind of give you a lot of information on how to implement SNAP at a farmer's market. So redemption of SNAP benefits at a market can be done 4 different ways. And I like to think of it as a lemonade stand only, kind of, if you're thinking of it. So there would be one SNAP EBT only point of sale device. So you're going to have one stand. And that one device is going to be used by all, it's going to be accept benefits for the whole market, okay? And it's a SNAP-only point of sale device. So there's one SNAP-only point of sale device at that market. Another way of doing it would be there would be one central point of sale device that accepts SNAP, but it also accepts credit and debit cards. And several markets are choosing that option, so they may want to accept credit and debit as well as SNAP. Then the third option is each vendor has an individual point of sale device. And how that works is sometimes you may have a market that doesn't want to accept SNAP benefits, but maybe 1 or 2 of the vendors want to accept SNAP benefits at that market. So those farmers or vendors can apply individually to accept those SNAP benefits. And then the fourth option is manual vouchers and no point of sale device. And I'm not really going to talk about that. If somebody wants to do that at some time, we'll have to look into that, and you could give me a call. So one of the first things a market has to do is decide who is going to be responsible for administering the program at the market. Most likely it's going to be the market manager in most markets. And these are some of the tasks and responsibilities for that market manager. They're going to have to register with USDA and complete an application to become an approved SNAP vendor. Second, they're going to have to obtain a wireless point of sale, an EBT terminal. They're going to need to design, order, and purchase EBT tokens, develop an accounting system for reimbursing vendors, train the vendors on SNAP rules and regulations, and then promote SNAP EBT to attract new SNAP customers. Before applying online for a license, applicants must create an online account with USDA. This account helps applicants manage their application, and what they'll do is they're going to log into this USDA account and complete the application. Now, surprisingly, this piece of applying is somewhat difficult, and the difficult part is that you have to come up with a password that is 12 characters long and cannot have any words that you would find in a dictionary. It's a very difficult password, and so this is one of the first challenges that market managers who are applying, they have trouble actually setting up this online account. And so just to kind of let you know, that is one of the really first challenges or barriers that those market managers are going to face. But after completing getting that online account, then they will complete the application, send some documents into USDA, and it can take up to 45 days to process the application once it is complete. So the second step is really to complete the USDA FNS application for stores. And on each of these slides, I've clicked the hyperlink, the page that you would want to go to online to complete the application. Okay. In order to complete that application, you're going to need a working email address, one that you check at least once a week, a copy of your driver's license or a valid government ID, and a copy or scan of your Social Security card for the person who is applying. So these are things that you're going to need to complete the application. And it's always good to have all the information that you need ahead of time before you go online to start that application. The next step is to obtain a point-of-sale terminal. And in January, USDA contracted with the National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Program in an effort to simplify this process of getting that point-of-sale equipment. And MarketLink is the partnership that was formed. And so today, if you were applying, if you were trying to get your EBT terminal, you would go through MarketLink to get that. And this is some funding that came out from USDA. It was $4 million in grants. It's going to provide this free wireless technology, but this opportunity is going to end in September. So there's really some urgency in getting our markets in Indiana to apply for this. And as you can see, if they apply for this equipment through MarketLink before September 30th, the cost of the iPhone with a card and reader is free. There is no cost to them. The wireless data service is free for the first 2 years, and the annual fee for payment processing is free. So this really is a great opportunity. If they don't apply for this, the cost could be up to $1,000. So I would highly recommend, working with markets who want to do this, helping them to get the process started before September 30th. One of the next steps a market manager is going to have is designing their EBT tokens. And I've got a list of all the places that you can contact about those tokens. But the tokens have to be unique, appealing, easily recognizable, instructional. They have to include the phrases, eligible food items only, and no change given. And say, for example, you also do debit and credit cards, and you have tokens for that. You have to be able to tell the difference between the two. So a lot of times the SNAP tokens are for $1, but maybe the debit and credit, those could be $5 tokens. And with the debit and credit tokens, you could give change back. So the market manager is also going to have some tasks and responsibilities on the day of the market. They're going to have to swipe the SNAP EBT customer cards. They're going to have to talk with SNAP customers and explain the system and how it works. Then they're going to have to gather tokens from the vendors and reimburse the vendors at either the end of the day or the end of the month. They also have to keep that currency safe and also decide how they're going to account for unredeemed tokens, because sometimes what happens at a market, somebody will come up and say, I want 20 tokens, but they only spend 15 tokens. And so they can save those tokens and use them later on in the month. Or if they decide, I'm not going to use these tokens and I know I'm not coming right back to the market this season, they can then have those tokens credited back to their account. One of the most important jobs of the market manager is to train the vendors on SNAP rules and regulations, letting them know about eligible food, giving change, what currency they can accept and for what products, and how to submit those tokens back for repayment. And a lot of times there's some confusion with, say maybe you accept the WIC vouchers and you also accept SNAP tokens. Well, the SNAP program can accept there's a lot of eligible food items, whereas the WIC vouchers are more restrictive. I believe they're just fruits and vegetables. And then one of the last things you need to do is promote SNAP EBT to attract new SNAP customers. And a lot of markets have signs saying that they're now accepting SNAP benefits. At the state, we have some signage that we've created. We've got some yard signs and postcards and posters and something called like a Signacade. It's a big folding sandwich sign that says, we accept SNAP benefits. And those have been really successful in letting customers know that the market accepts SNAP benefits. But usually the first year, it's going to take a while for SNAP customers to know that your market is accepting that. So like Bloomington has experienced, their first couple years, their sales were slow, but now they have lots of customers, SNAP customers, coming to their market. Now here's an example of one of the cards that we have developed, and these are cards that the vendors can use. Well, actually, we didn't develop. They were developed by NYC Grow, New York City Grow, but we've adapted them for Indiana. But it really tells you kind of all of the food items that are eligible. It could be dairy and vegetables, meat, jams and jellies, baked goods, honey and syrup, breads, fruits, nuts, things like that. And also plants. You can also use your SNAP benefits to purchase food-producing plants at the farmer's market. And then it also talks a little bit about how it works. So usually what happens when a SNAP customer comes to the market, they're going to go to the market tent. They're going to give the person at the tent their card. They're going to swipe the market manager, whoever is manning that station. They'll swipe the card and make sure the benefits are available. They will give the recipient tokens, and then those tokens can be used at any of the eligible vendors. So one of the next things we're going to do is talk about completing the application for the USDA FNS application. And Jody, this may be a time if you are online, you may want to look over to the file share on the bottom left-hand side, and we have something. It's the second one down. It's called the SNAP Practice Application. And you may want to either open that up on your own computer and take a look at this as we go through the application. One of the first things you do, as we talked about earlier, is you need to set up that user account. And I have a picture of what that website looks like. So at first you're going to go in and register for a user account. And once you register, you're going to give your login name and your password. But then it's going to take about 15 minutes to get a reply back from USDA that account has been set up. Once that account has been set up, you're going to go back to the same website, but now you're going to log in, and you're going to log in with that username and password. So it's really important just to knowing that you're coming back to this page, and now you're going to log in to start completing the application. So there's lots of information that's going to be required. The store information, ownership information, contact information for the person in charge, sales information, inventory, percent of sales. Those are the kind of things that you're going to have to talk about. And I'm going to look at the application actually right now. There's 19 questions on the application, and I'm just going to go through them one by one. So the first question is, when will the store open for business under your ownership? So a lot of times farmers markets change ownership. The person who is in charge changed. And when that happens, that new person, needs to go in and apply to be the vendor for the program. But say you have a market that's been in business for 10 years, and you have been in charge of it for the 10 years, you could go back and put whatever that date is. Now, if it's a brand new market, you can only put in a start date that is 30 days in the future. But you'll also notice, too, I've provided, in the file share, there's some guidance on completing the application, and that type of information, it tells you really how to answer each question. Question number 2 is the store's name, and so that would be the name of your farmer's market. Okay. So question number 2 is the store's name, and that would be the name of your farmer's market. Let's go ahead and scroll that all the way up to the top if you can. Let's see. Wrong way. If you can go to page 1 of that, what is on the screen, that would be helpful. So number 2 is the name of your store. Well, these are farmers markets. They aren't stores. So you'd put the name of your farmers market. So it could be Bloomington Community Farmers Market. Number 3, you're probably going to leave that blank because you're not a chain store. This application was actually developed for, it's really more for stores. So if you're a Kroger store, it's going to be real easy to fill out this application. But when you're a farmer's market, sometimes the questions, the way that they're asked, don't make sense. Question number 4 is your store location address. So that would be the actual address of your market. Now, sometimes markets are in a parking lot where they don't actually have a street address. So to the best of your ability, maybe it's the corner of, First Street and Market Street, something like that, and state and zip code. But that's your store location. Number 5 is your store mailing address, and this would be the place that you're going to receive mail. So this is going to be the place where USDA and MarketLink are going to send your point of sale device, where you're going to get any application, information about your application. So you need the actual mailing address where whoever's in charge of the market is going to be receiving mail. Question number 6 is your telephone number. And it's also good to provide an alternate telephone number. And a lot of times with farmers markets, they're actually going to use this because whoever is reviewing the application, they may see something on your, the way that you answered a question that they aren't sure what you meant. And so they'll give you a call just to clarify that. And so that phone number is really important to have that with you. Number 8 is, do you want to receive correspondence by email? And I always think that's a great idea. Number 9, they're going to ask you if your business is a farmer's market, a farm stand, a U-pick, or a stall. And in most cases, you're going to be checking yes on this. Where this question becomes confusing, a lot of times you're going to have a farmer who has a farm stand at their house, but then they also maybe sell at several markets. So, and they maybe have 2 or 3 people from their farm selling at different markets that don't accept SNAP benefits. So they may need more than one point of sale terminal because maybe on a certain day they're going to be at Fisher's Farmers Market and they're also going to be at Broad Ripple Farmers Market. But it's going to be 2 different people from their business there. So not only are they selling at home, but they also maybe are selling at a market that doesn't accept SNAP benefits. And that's where filling out this question number 9 can be confusing, okay? Question number 10 is type of ownership. And this also is the question that a lot of people struggle with on how to answer this one. And what I would suggest to doing, if you're having trouble filling out this question, give me a call, or there's a number at the end of the PowerPoint presentation of somebody that you can call to help you with filling out that one. But here's the way I would explain it. If your market is a nonprofit or sponsored by a municipality, you can select publicly owned corporation or cooperative. If it's a nonprofit but not publicly owned, it would mean they would need documentation of its nonprofit status if that's applicable. So that definitely is kind of a confusing question. So that's probably the one that most of your markets are going to struggle with, and really all of them are different, so it can be confusing. So question number 11 is, what if my market doesn't have a parent corporation or something about a parent corporation? And most of the markets don't, so most likely you're going to be leaving this blank. It really pertains more to chain stores and franchises. Question number 12 is the primary owner. And in most cases, it's going to be that market manager. If it's just like a cooperative, it's going to be the market manager who is filling out this information. If it's not, in some cases, there could be more that maybe officers of the, of their organization or something like that. But in most cases, it is the market manager who is completing this information. So we're going to move on now to question number 13. And that question, I'm going to turn my page and get to it as well. This is just asking a question, has any officer ever had a license denied? So it could have been maybe sometime in the past they applied for WIC, but that was denied. I would just answer these questions truthfully, 11 and 14, answer those truthfully, and provide the explanation below. So now we're going to move on to question number 15. Question number 15, do you sell products wholesale to other businesses such as hospitals or restaurants? And a lot of, maybe if you're a direct marketing farmer or a direct marketing farm, you may be doing that. So you definitely need to answer yes. If yes, does your total retail food sales meet or exceed $250,000 or 50% of your total sales? And for most farmers markets, this is going to be a no. Both of those questions are going to be a no, but it could be yes and no. The next question is, does the sale of hot and or cold, freshly prepared foods that are ready to eat exceed 50% of your total sales? So what this question is asking, a lot of times farmers markets, they also have food trucks there that are selling food, especially with the development of food trucks, or they have vendors who are really selling hot food for people to eat during the market day. And so this is a question you're going to have to estimate, do your sales from hot food exceed 50%? In most cases, that answer is going to be no, but with the popularity of food trucks and things like that, that could be changing. So question number 17 is looking at your total retail sales. And this is, if you have that actual sales information from your tax returns, you would put it there. But if you don't have that, and actually most markets that I've talked to, they don't really know because the vendors aren't telling them how much they're making. And so in that case, then what you would do is estimate those total sales. And you could do it by day, by week, by month, or by year. And you could kind of look at you could maybe talk to a couple of vendors and see, what their sales were for that day, multiply that times the number of vendors, and then by the number of weeks, if you want to do it that way. So it really is an estimate, and it's just giving them an idea, USDA, an idea of what type of sales should be coming through there. If you have an EIN number, you would want to enter that in box number 17. Question number 18 is, do you stock at least 3 different items in each of these food categories? So it would be fresh, frozen, canned, packaged. So, for example, breads, do you have, do you carry a variety of bread items? Most markets are going to probably say no to this one, but we do have markets that sell pasta and breads and baked goods and things like that, but it could be yes or no depending on your market. Does your market sell milk, butter, cheese? But it needs to be at least 3 items in each of these categories. And I know the markets that I go to, most of them could answer yes to that one. Fruits and vegetables, almost all markets could say yes. They carry at least 3 different items. Meat, poultry, and fish, for many markets, that may be no. But there's more markets that are selling, eggs and frozen chicken, fish. So that could be, just depending on what your market sells. Doesn't really matter how you answer this, but you do need to answer it. And then they want to know what percentage of your total sales come from these food categories. So if you put 100% here, then on the next 2 questions, you're going to have to put 0%. So say you have a market that sells crafts, they sell flowers, but then they also sell food items. You're going to want to think about what percentage of your sales go to food items, ready-to-eat food items, what percentage goes to the food categories that we have listed below, and then what percentage goes to non-food items. So number 19 asks, do you sell other food items such as snack foods, soft drinks, or condiments? So you would, answer yes or no and then put a percentage, but you're going to have 3 percentages that have to total 100%. So this is one of those questions as you answer it, you may be going back and forth and readjusting, the percentage you put in 18 when you get to 19 and 20. And then do you sell non-food items or food that is hot at the time the customer pays for it? So non-food items like tobacco, alcohol, and hot food, if you're selling hot sandwiches and things like that, pizza, those items are not eligible with SNAP benefits. So with a lot of markets, at first they think, oh, no, we don't do that. And then they go back and see what everybody is selling. And as a market manager, you really need to know what your vendors are selling and which items they sell that are eligible and which items that they sell that may be questionable or not eligible. So it actually is a little bit more complicated than it seems. So, okay, so we're going to move on to question number 20, and that is how many cash registers are at the store? And basically what they're asking here is they're wanting to know how many point-of-sale devices do you need. For most markets, it's going to be 1, okay? But I could see if you had a really big market, you could possibly want to have more than 1 point-of-sale device. Excuse me, but for most markets in Indiana, it is 1. Okay. The next question, number 2, is this store open year-round? And most of the markets are not open year-round. Maybe they're open just 4 or 5 months. So you would check the month. You would also check the day and the time that you are open. Okay, and I think that concludes the questions. So there's 23 questions. They aren't that hard to answer, but they are a little bit complicated when sometimes when that market manager is trying to answer them and fill them out, they're just not sure if they're answering them right. And the other thing on that, though, it doesn't really matter. It matters that they answer the questions. And when USDA gets this application, if they see something about it that is a red flag, they're going to get a phone call. And someone's just going to help make sure that they're filling this out the way that they want, that they're filling it out right. So if you've answered something wrong that doesn't make sense, you're going to get a phone call from somebody, and they're going to help you get those answers right. So I definitely wouldn't worry about that. I would just, do your best to fill it out. So this next slide has some information. There's a phone number that you can call with USDA to get help on filling out the application. Say you don't use a computer and you need a paper application, there's a number that you can call to get a paper application. And also you can apply online at this website. And with my experience, I've worked with several markets filling out the application. And what I find is a lot of the market managers who are doing this, they don't have an office job. They don't use computers every day. So completing this application and just using the computer to do this whole process is somewhat complicated for them. So that's really the help that they need, is just helping them complete this application online, which is something they're just not comfortable doing. The next phone numbers and contact information that I've provided is information from MarketLink. And MarketLink is where you're going to go to get that point of sale equipment. And when you get on MarketLink, if you have a question, there's a contact information there, and you can send a question to somebody, and somebody will call you back. So if you have a question about getting that equipment, this is the website where you want to go to. And there also is lots of resources and information on there, frequently asked questions, and lots of information to answer any questions you may have about getting that point of sale device. Now, we have FSSA, starting in June, there's a new person, a new EBT manager at FSSA. And a lot of times, if you aren't eligible for the free equipment, FSSA is helping to cover the cost of that equipment if, for example, for some reason your market isn't eligible for that free equipment. So this is the person who you would be contacting to help you make that connection. And finally, this is my contact information. If you're working with somebody and need help on filling out that application, or a lot of times I can send an email to USDA and get an answer back right away to see what the status of something is. So definitely give me a call. I'd love to help anybody who's trying to do this. I'm really happy to help anybody complete the application, get them some of that signage that we have, and really kind of keep them connected with people who can give them some help in doing this. And then for my final slide, I've included a video. It's a video about a little town with a big market, and it's a farmer's market that's located in Orleans, Indiana. And I think it's really a great video to watch to just get an idea of what a market can mean in a community. So if you get time later on, definitely check out this video. It's really inspirational to think about what your market could be, what it can be in that community, and also how all those community partners can come together to make this a really great market in this little town. It's amazing. I think the population there is, I don't know, I think it's maybe like, I'm going to say like 1,000 or something, but they've got this huge market that everybody in the community comes to. So I think that's all I have. I think I'm ready for some questions and answers if we have any questions today, Jody. Oh, yes. Okay, I was going to talk a little bit about the FreshBucks program. So this past year in Indianapolis, we started a FreshBucks program. It's there are 5 markets who are piloting a FreshBucks program, and you can find information about it at a website called freshbucksindy.org. And the goal is that it's going to be piloted in Indianapolis this year. We've developed some promotional materials, some bus signs and posters, postcards, and things like that. And next year we're going to be rolling this out statewide and looking for markets that we can expand this program to. I think Jody's going to be putting up the website in just a few minutes of what that looks like. But this website was just launched, I believe, last week. We're also partnering with FSSA, and they're actually going to be sending out these double up food buck postcards to zip codes in the areas near those markets. So our goal is hopefully to expand next year, is to expand the website to include all the markets in Indiana who are accepting double up food bucks, accepting the double up food bucks program. So that would be Bloomington. I know in Allen County there's a market that's doing that, and there's several markets who have been talking about that. But especially as this new USDA grant, or Farm Bill grant rolls out, we've already got this infrastructure kind of in place to adding new markets who are doing this double up food buck program. So it's really kind of exciting. So that would be the next piece of this, is that helping us here at the State Department of Health know what markets are either doing a double up food buck program, so that we can add them to this website as it gets expanded to a statewide website. Jody, do you want to add anything about this? So here it's going to be what markets accept fresh bucks, and so that's where we could add Bloomington Farmers Market, or we could add a market in Allen County, and we can really, as more of our markets start doing this, we can do it. But the great thing is we already have the postcards and the posters, and we have a logo. It's FreshBucks with the state of Indiana. So all of that information that is really hard to develop locally, we've got that done here at the state level. So it's being piloted this year in Indianapolis, and our goal is to expand it over the next few years to other markets accepting fresh bucks. Okay, well, thank you, Jody.